Hi guys, welcome to another Rossi audio video in the hard rock and heavy metal community section. Today I have something really freaking cool for you guys. For those of you who don't know, Tony Harnell and Magnus Carlsen has a band called Starbreaker. Most of you probably know Magnus Carlsen from different bands. He was a big contributor and songwriter for Allen and Landa back in the day. And Tony Harnell has been with TNT for decades. He also had a short stint with Skid Row. And they also have had some solo projects going on over the years. So for those of you who have been following these guys, you know that they, over a decade ago, gave out albums on the name and under the band Starbreaker. Well, on January 25th of 2019, they released a new album called Dysphoria. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And I got it a few days ago, and I've been listening to it all day long for a couple of days just to get into the record and see what is this new album all about. Here it is. When I ordered it, I pre-ordered it back in, I think it was late November, early December, and I ordered the package with where they come with it. The CD came like this, and I got an extra booklet that was signed by Tony Harnell and Magnus Carlsen. They use session players, I believe, on drums and bass, and let me just tell you right away that the bass and the drums on this album is top-notch. So we have paid some tribute and attention to those who have been in on that. The CD is I have 10 songs on it, and they released 2 singles on YouTube and other online sites all the way back. I think it was late November, early December. If you can correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I think it was right around there. And the first song they released was Pure Evil. And then the How Many More Goodbyes was put online. So those songs I've been listening to for a couple of months. Pure Evil and How Many More Goodbyes. And I was very, very intrigued when I heard those 2 songs. Because I could right away hear associations to TNT back in the day, and also I could hear influences and kind of the same style that Allen and Landa had on a few records. And that would probably be normal since we're talking about Tony Harnell mixing up with Magnus Carlsen. So I was kind of thinking like, based on these 2 songs, this was shaping up to be a really good album. Because here we have maybe an album that is a mix between what you heard on the first Allen and Landa records and the typical classical TNT stuff with Harnell on it. Let me just say this right off the bat. I have also listened to the latest TNT record that was released in June, July 2018. And to me that was the biggest disappointment in decades, or maybe in TNT's history. It is such a weak album. It is such a tragic songwriting stuff on it. You could hear that the songwriting on the TNT 30, as they call it, is subpar. And that also tells you that the classical TNT records, when Harnell was involved and was a part of the songwriting, it just tells you how elevated the songwriting quality and the level of songwriting was with Harnell behind the controls. So the new TNT album, what I did when I got this one and I listened through this CD for a few times, I put this one on and then I put the latest TNT record on, and I kind of like did a head-to-head battle or head-to-head review or head-to-head listening test and stuff like that. And let me just tell you right off the bat, Starbreaker and Dysphoria knocks the shit out of the TNT 30 record. TNT 30 record is, I wouldn't even spend money on it. it should have gone right in the garbage can, okay? That's why I am so excited about this album. So when I got it in the mail, I plugged it into my CD player in the car first because I got it in the mail and I had to go out and do something. So I was like, I'm not going to sit around and wait until I get home. So I put it in my car, and I mean, it starts with the first song is the song they released back a couple of months ago, Pure Evil. So I knew that song right off the bat, so I knew how that was, and I liked that song. So I since I have heard it, I skipped over that one and I went to song number 2, which is Wild Butterflies. That is a song that took me a while to get into. I don't know why. It didn't respond to me right off the bat like Pure Evil did. But my wife loved it because I picked up my wife, and on the way home we played the CD, and she loved the Wild Butterflies right off the bat. Me, however, it took me 2 or 3 times of listening to that song, and then I got into the groove of it, and now I just think it's good. Then we moved on to song number 3, which is Last December. And that is a song that kind of gives me some associations with some of the songs that was on the old TNT record called Firefly. But it also has some influences from Alan Lande. So I like that song, song number 3, Last December. I really liked it right off from the first play. I was like, yes, this is a good song. And it gave me the head shaking and, jam along with. So that's a very, very good song. Then we come to song number 4, which is the song that I have heard before for a couple of months now, which is How Many More Goodbyes. I love that song. And to me, How Many More Goodbyes is probably the best song on the album. It is a typical Tony Harnell type of song. It fits his voice, it fits his persona and the way he's singing. It is just a trademark of what Tony Harnell has been known for so many years, which is melancholic, melodic hard rock with precision and lows and highs and very balanced. So if you want to know what Tony Harnell is good for, I mean, How Many More Goodbyes is just a staple, and it's right up there. On this album, in my opinion, probably the best song in my ears. Song number 5, the beautiful one, was more or less kind of like Wild Butterfly. It took me a couple of listenings before I got into that song. It's a good song, but it didn't catch me right off the bat like Pure Evil and How Many More Goodbyes and Last December did. So it took me 1 or 2 listenings, maybe 3 listenings before I got into that song. But that's the thing about this album. It's very diverse in a way, but at the same time it stays true to a tone, to a style, and a melodic way of performing songs, if you want to. But still, there's enough differences in each song to separate them. So after listening to The Beautiful One for a few times, I kind of liked it. I have to say, maybe not the best song on the album, but it's still good. Number 6 on the album is Dysphoria, and I hope I pronounced this correctly. That is a song that is kind of it feels like it's shorter than the other ones because it goes so fast and all of a sudden you're done listening to it. But I really liked that song. It had a little bit more attitude, a little more pizzazz, a little bit more punch than the other 5. And it was kind of like a nice breakup in the middle of the CD. And it was like, okay, I have heard the first ones were like, okay, Pure Evil is a fast one. It kind of like reminds me of Tell No Tales. But at the same time, it's different, but it kind of reminds me of Tell No Tales. So when Dysphoria came on, I was like, okay, I've been listening to 5 songs previously, that has been kind of like melodic, melancholic, and has some variations in the speed and the attack and the energy in the songs. Dysphoria has a different energy to it, and I really liked it. I dig that song. In my mind, I probably put Dysphoria as the second best song on the album. Number 7, My Heart Belongs to You, is a typical hard rock, kind of like ballad, mixed with a little bit more punch, a little bit more attitude. But it's a really, really good song if you like that type of style of music and Tony's voice on these songs. So I want to say that maybe not one of the top 4 songs, but it's still very, very good. Song number 8 is, in my mind, a extremely good song. It's called Fire Away. And it kind of like, the first time I listened to it, I was like, this is different from the other songs on the album. It kind of like feels the same, but it sounds different despite of kind of feeling the same. And that's how they mix this album really good up, because the whole album seems to have a similar vibe to it, but still they're different. And Fire Away is one of those songs, and it's a really good song. I love it. It's one of those songs after Pure Evil, How Many More Goodbyes, Dysphoria, that I will go back and do repeat on the in the car or in my CD players. So that's a very, very good song. Bright Star Blind Me is song number 9, and that's also one of those songs that I had to listen to a couple of times before I got into it. But once I got into it, it is a killer song. Killer song. And let's go to number 10, and I will do the general things after. Number 10, then the last song on the album is Starbreaker. The song is named the same as the band. It's called Starbreaker. And this song stands out from the rest of them. There's no doubt about it. This is like let's end this CD on a different note. And it fits, and it feels so right. So when you have listened to the 9 previous songs, and you come to the 10th song, which is Starbreaker, it kind of like, it's like, it gives you that feeling that you're wanting more. It's if you watch a good movie, and the movie ends, and you kind of feel like, damn, there has to be a sequel. You know, there has to be a Die Hard 2, or a Rocky 2, or a Rambo 2, or something like that. When they end a CD with a song like Starbreaker, when that song fades out and the CD is over, you just want to have a sequel. You want to have more. So that's what that song brings to you. So this is a very, very freaking good album. If I was going to rate this album, let's say from 1 to 10 stars, where 1 is the worst and 10 is the best, this is a CD that I would probably give 9, 9.5. The only reason I'm not giving it a 10 is because I feel that they could have put a couple more songs in here. I'm pretty sure they have enough material for that, because, I mean, we're talking about Tony Harnell and Magnus Carlsen. Both are 2 great musicians, and both are great songwriters. A couple more songs in this one would have been great, but I mean, I love it. And there's no fillers on this album. Let me say that right off the bat. There's no fillers at all. Each song is on individual basis is really freaking good. So if you spend 10, 15, 20 bucks on a CD like this, you spend well worth money on it. And you support 2 great musicians. If you want to download from iTunes or Spotify or whatever, do it. But I have always been of the... people who know me know that I always go for the physical medium, just because it gives the artist more bang for the buck. It gives them more income. It's no lie. I mean, downloads are great, but if you want to support the artist, buy the physical CD or LP if that's coming out. Now let's go through the general things on this album. Vocals. Let's start with the vocals. There's no way of hiding. You can't hide anything in today's society because everything is online. Social media has been taking over. So when it comes to vocals, you can go back and look at videos on YouTube or other places and see the classical songs that Tony Harnell did. And you can get a feeling for where his voice once was. Then compare that to other singers who gets up in age, like Tony. Tony's not getting any younger either. So when you listen to singers that had their heyday back in the 80s and early 90s and really sounded good, and you see them release albums today and it just sounds terrible and tragic, and you go like, they should have just hang their coat up many years ago. Tony Harnell on vocals on this album in 2019 is as good as any TNT record that was released in the 80s and 90s. Of course, they have some recording aids in the studio, I know that, but still, you could hear him holding notes for as long as he wants to, just as he did back in the day. Will it sound differently live today than what it did in 1986? Of course. I mean, he's getting older, and normal for singers is your voice changes. But he is one of few singers that has really stayed on top of his game and really can knock out and belch out and give soaring vocals whenever it's needed. And he can hit high notes still. There's no doubt about it. There is high notes in here. There's all kinds of ranges. Maybe not 5 octaves, but at least 4. And I don't think he has any problem hitting 5 octaves today either. Given the right setting, the right preparation, maybe in the beginning of the concert or a live show, do 1 or 2 songs. Because after a while you might get winded or your voice goes a little bit dry. But he still got it. I mean, he's one of the vocalists today that still got it. And you can compare him to Bruce Dickinson, who also still got it. I mean, there's a few guys in the hard rock and heavy metal genre today that still do the things they did back in the 80s. But they're very few. But Tony Harnell is one of them. And you can hear it on this album because the vocals on this album is spot on. Top notch. 10 stars. So if you listen, and here's my clue about it. This is why I did the comparison between Starbreaker and the new TNT album that was released 6, 7, 8 months ago. This album is for you who was hoping that the new TNT album would be what you was hoping it to be. It turned out to be total garbage, okay? This is what the TNT album last year would have been if Tony Harnell was still behind the microphone with TNT. So if you were longing for and wanting to have a great TNT record, you get it here in Starbreaker, because this is so... You could link this to many TNT sounding records that have been made up for the years. And you can hear that this album has influences just because you have Tony Harnell on the vocals. Now, the guitar playing on this album, let me start off by saying that I have a few favorite guitar players that I have had for many years that I like to listen to. And one of my favorite guitar players of all times, since I was very young, was Ronnie Lee Thackara in TNT. And he still is ranked, in my mind, very high up in my mind. However, on the last album, his guitar playing is just dreadful. And not very innovative or new or fresh in any way. What you get with Magnus Carlsen is totally freaking different. Here you get a guitar player, and this is maybe the difference between Lee Thackara and Magnus Carlsen today. Magnus Carlsen is hungry for success. He's hungry for excellence. He's hungry for putting out great stuff. When you've been in the game for almost 30, 40 years, you might maybe get a little bit tired of things, and you want to do some shortcuts, and your creative side doesn't always come out as it should, and that shows on the TNT record. However, the creative guitar playing and the creative piece of music that Magnus Carlsen adds to this record is by far some of the better guitar playings that have been put onto a record in 2018, 2019, so far in 2019. He is a very, very skilled guitar player, and he's also a very skilled songwriter. And that shows, I urge you to go back and listen to the 3 first Allen and Landa records, where you could hear the guitar playing on this is very close to what you hear on those records, but they're still different, but you can hear it. There are certain twings and twines and how he stretches the strings and how he plays his solos and the riffs. It's all there. He has a very special trademark on his playing, and you can hear it right away. Just like Ronnie Lee Tecra had back in the day, you could hear it. You could put on a song, and I could hear, oh, that's Ronnie, or vice versa today with Magnus Carlsen. So the vocals on this record is top notch. The guitar playing on this record is top notch. And like I said, the bass player and his contribution to this album is very good. It has a very good bass drive in it. The drums are spot on. They're crisp. They're hard. They're heavy, and they're soft when they need to be. So it's shaping up, like I said, to be a very good record. And now that I've been listening to it on and off for 2 days, 3 days, it is one of my favorite albums that I have purchased in the last 8 months. This is an album that this is a little bit heavier and harder and a different style than the other album that I bought right before Christmas that I really like, which was Northward, which has of course, Floor Jansen and Jorn Viggo Lofstad from Pagan's Mind. So this album and the Northward album is some of the best 2 albums that I have bought lately. And let me tell you, I don't just like music because I have feel like I have a bond to what happened in the past. Yes, I've been a big TNT fan for many, many years. I have all their records with Harnell on them. I couldn't care less for the ones with Mills or the new singer, the karaoke singer from Spain. But I didn't go automatically and become a fan of Starbreaker. I've been listening to Starbreaker since mid-2000s when they came out with some albums. And I remember the first song that I heard from Starbreaker was Lies. And that song just grabbed me, and I was instantly a fan of Starbreaker. And I've been listening to a lot of their songs after that. So this was an album that I was waiting for, and I wanted to come out. Because when Tony Harnell once again joined TNT back in a few years ago, I was like, okay, that probably means no more Starbreaker music. And when he left TNT for the last time, and they announced that they were going to make a new album, I was really excited. I was more excited for this album than I was for hearing about the new TNT album, because I knew right away that it was going to be a downfall. So this saved the day. So thank you, Tony Harnell, and thank you, Magnus Carlsen, for creating and giving out this masterpiece. And I'm glad that Frontiers really took you under their wings and released this album, because this is a very good album. It's going to be a very tough album to beat in 2019. And I know I'm speaking highly now, because there's like 40, 45, maybe 50 albums planned in the hard rock and heavy metal community to be released from different bands. And if my other favorite band is giving out their album that was supposed to come out in 2018 but didn't, I'm talking about Pagan's Mind. They are maybe releasing an album in 2019. So for me to say that this is going to be hard to beat, I'm going to be maybe biting my tongue when Pagan's Mind album comes out. But I'm sure they will be right up there because it's two different genres. This is a melodic hard rock CD. Don't get it wrong. This is not your Slayer or Metallica or anything like that. This is a melodic hard rock album. So you know that Pagan's Mind is a progressive power metal, so it will probably be a little bit different. But I'm pretty sure that when that day comes, that this album can stand up there. And of course, it depends on other albums being released. But so far, I mean, Starbreaker, Dysphoria. If you're looking for really good music that has been released lately, this is the album you want, guys. This will keep you over until the next album comes out from any other band. Oh, my camera went out of focus again. Well, on that note. There we go. On that note, I mean 9.5 out of 10 stars. It's a very good album. I can only say thank you to the guys who worked on this record. It really put a good faith back in hard rock and metal, because there's been too many bad releases over the years. This is like a sun in the darkness. Really good album. It gets my approval. Check it out, guys.